Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. Must avoid running backs for me. If you want to draft these guys, go ahead. Draft whoever you like. Draft whatever style you like. Correlate for week 17 or don't when you're playing best ball. Whatever. I'm going to give you the guys that I am avoiding at ADP. Now, these players are not players that, I'm hating on. They're not human beings that I dislike. I just think that their price at ADP is not worth what they're costing right now. And I'm going to give you 2 or 3 players to replace each one that I would rather draft if faced with the opportunity to draft one or the other. So in my early drafts, my percentage owned is going to reflect exactly that. This is how I've been drafting, and this is the players that I believe you should be avoiding at running back in your 2022 best ball draft. So thank you for being here. Guys, anything you click massively helps out our channel. If you like the video, if you share the video, if you click subscribe on the channel and ring that notifications bell, if you leave me a reply down below, anything you click will help this channel out, and it costs you roughly $0. So thank you guys very much for watching. Just you being here means a ton. And let's go.
He's a legend.
Guys, if you haven't already, go check out all the great stuff that they have over at underdogfantasy.com. If you use promo code ALSMIZZLE, all one word, ALSMIZZLE, you will get a deposit bonus up to $100 on your first deposit to the site. This is one of my favorite places, or my favorite place, to play best ball. They have the Best Ball Mania, the largest tournament, $10 million. $2 million to first, $1 million to second, another $1 million if you win the first 14 weeks. If you're the highest scoring team after the first 14 weeks. They've already filled their first puppy tournament, the $5 variety. They have Pick'em and every other sport possible. So definitely go check out the fine products they have over there and use code ALSMIZZLE when you sign up for that $100 deposit. You can then use on your Best Ball Mania tickets or puppy drafts or Pick'ems or anything else on the site. We're going to start with Alvin Kamara. He's exactly the type of running back that I love, right? Gets a good amount of usage on the ground, right? He's getting you those 12 to 15 carries, but historically has gotten so much work in the passing game that with as much value is placed on every target, right? One target to a running back is worth like 2.8 expected fantasy points, where a carry is worth 1. So like you're getting massive multiples when you get a heavy volume guy who gets those inside the 5 carries and gets you all those targets. But there's a problem here with Alvin Kamara. He is possibly facing a suspension. They did just bring in, they have Mark Ingram behind him. They just brought in David Johnson, which kind of might be a signal that the team thinks that suspension is coming as well. So if you're playing best ball, a non-transactional league where you don't get to use the waiver wire and you lose a player who right now is sitting as the RB10 with an ADP of 22, I believe that it's falling. It was way higher before, as people are starting to react to the very real possibility that he could miss 4 or 6 games. Now, if there's no suspension here, obviously you're getting him at a value, but not knowing always is going to drive a price down. And there's players that I would much rather have at a very similar ADP. Saquon Barkley, ADP of 23.7, the RB12 right now. I can't get enough shares of Saquon, but I've clicked so much of him this offseason. Leonard Fournette, Uncle Lenny, has moved way up the charts as well. ADP of 23.5, the RB11. And if faced with one of Alvin Kamara or Aaron Jones, I would click Aaron Jones as well, as I profile him as having a much larger impact in the passing game in 2022 than he's ever had at any point in his career. So I would take those 3 players over Alvin Kamara. I am not clicking any Alvin Kamara at all right now in best ball drafts, unless we get news that there's no suspension. The next player on my do not draft list at running back is Cam Akers. Akers has an ADP of 46. He is the 18th running back off the board. Look, if we take a look at his game logs from last year, the one thing that's going to stand out was how inefficient he was running the football. I'm personally giving Cam Akers a pass in that situation. 1, yards per carry is not exactly the most telling metric. 2, look at the teams that they played outside of like Cincinnati. You don't want to try and run the football against San Francisco twice or Tampa Bay. We fade running backs against Tampa Bay all the time. Arizona was an extremely stout running defense as well. Cincinnati, the only team that you could run against, and you didn't post good numbers against them either. But Like, he came back in, like, don't fact check me, but like 17 days following a torn Achilles tendon. That's unheard of. That used to be a career ender. Sometimes it would take a year and a half, 2 years for a player to get back from an injury like that. And he was back like 3 weeks later. Okay, maybe like 3-4 months later, whatever. Don't fact check me. The point is, he came back exceptionally fast from what used to be a career threatening injury. Now, I expect his efficiency on a per touch basis to bounce here in 2022. However, the Rams the last few years have not really utilized their running backs enough in the passing game. They will give them touches inside the 5-yard line as McVay really starts to knit it up as they get inside the 5 and inside the 10. So with an offense like that, there is certainly touchdown upside, but like, you're looking at a running back who projects to have very little usage in the passing game, is going to be very touchdown reliant. So the floor ceiling there is going to have a much wider gap than somebody that I would want to pay for at that ADP. So a player like Travis Etienne with a running back 17 right now, the ADP of 44. If it was an either or, I would take Etienne over Akers, even though the Rams are project to be a better offense than the Jaguars do. Just all of that usage in the passing game with no competition right now in Jacksonville. I know James Robinson is there, but like, is he going to be ready at the beginning of this season? We could be looking at 80% snaps for Etienne early in the year, which would give him a Kamara-like usage at, a 3rd to 4th round price tag. J.K. Dobbins, ADP of 56, would rather have Dobbins over Cam Akers. I think that this kid could really explode this year. And Breece Hall, the rookie for the Jets, running back 19 right now with an ADP of 50.5. 3 players I would much rather have than Cam Akers at ADP right now. Now, Elijah Mitchell, this is the dangerous one for me, to put him on a do not draft list, right? Like, when the 49ers play from ahead, they run the ball a metric ton. Just these numbers are massive. 27 carries, 22, 21, 27. The volume's certainly there. He's got big playability, as you can see by the large runs that he ripped off, 30, 40-yard runs. In that offense, it's going to pile the ball into their running backs' hands in the second half. However, his production last year just not really being utilized a lot in the passing game, right? That's just not the way they run it. Yeah, he has a 6-target game here, but like 3 or less in most of his games that he had played. And now the inclusion of Trey Lance being under center. I'd say probably an 80-20, 85-15% chance that Trey Lance is the all-time starting quarterback for San Francisco this year, even if Jimmy Garoppolo is still on that roster by the time they get to camp. Just his presence is going to subtract a lot of those inside the 5 carries. He had 7 touchdowns on 262 attempts last year. That's going to come down. They still have Deebo Samuel there. That's 2 other players to try and siphon touchdowns away as they get close to the goal line. It's just not an ideal situation for where he's going as the RB24 with an ADP of 72. In that range, I would much rather have an Antonio Gibson. I'd rather have CEH as the RB26 with an ADP of 76, or a whole like 10 picks later, Miles Sanders, who was ridiculously unlucky on one of the more more run-happy teams in the league. Now, it's a similar situation, right? With Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia, a running quarterback. Miles Sanders really had no touchdowns last year as they kept getting vultured by literally everybody else on the roster. Kenny Gainwell, Boston Scott, Jalen Hurts is going to get his 5 to 10 every single year with as much as he runs it as well. So if I'm getting Sanders at a discount in a year where regression should take over in a positive manner and his touchdown scoring should come up, as opposed to Elijah Mitchell, whose touchdown scoring on a per play basis or a per touch basis should come down, give me Miles Sanders at the discount versus Eli Mitchell where he's currently going. And my final pick in this spot is going to be James Cook, the rookie for Buffalo. Now, look, it's true that everybody likes to get hyped up about rookie running backs. I understand it, but the guys who are stepping in to big roles, Breece Hall, last year, people thought it was going to be Travis Etienne. I get it, right? Because the upside is massive. People like Kenny Walker as well. I think that that's a weird situation, but I wasn't going to include him on this list as well. Bad offense, a lot of competition. James Cook right now has an ADP of 107. So he's falling as the running back 34, a low-end RB3. I don't know if this is a hot take, but I don't think he takes the job here. I think that they're going to utilize him. They wanted to go get J.D. McKissick, sign him to an offer sheet. He went back to Washington as they just matched the sheet. So, he took that Washington contract, wanted to stay at home. But James Cook is now going to slide into that role where he's going to be like a third down and or passing back in an offense that doesn't really utilize the running backs as pass catchers all that much. And Devin Singletary looked really good down the stretch last year, a veteran. They're going to give him the ball. He's going to get the early down work, and more likely he is going to be the one on the field when they get inside the 5 and the 10 on offense. It does project to get to that spot a lot. James Cook looks like a player who they're going to utilize to try and vary their offense, which means that he's probably a 25 to 40% of the snaps type player, assuming that he can deal in pass pro better than most rookies deal in pass pro. I'm not saying he's a gadget player. I think he's going to be used way more than that, but he's got the exact same ADP at 107 that Devin Singletary, the guy that I believe is going to get 60 or 65% of the running back snaps and touches on that Buffalo Bills offense. Why are we drafting the part-time guy at the same place as the full-time guy? Devin Singletary is definitely a player that I would much rather have. Look, as good as he looks on Player Profiler, really fast player, catches the ball really well, he has not been a player that we project to be the guy that they're going to lean on in Buffalo. He projects to comp to Andre Ellington, who was never a guy who projected as a lead back. He's a third down back. He's a J.D. McKissick. He's a James White. They have value in fantasy if they can get that 30 to 40% snap share. But at the same ADP, give me Devin Singletary at 107. Give me Chase Edmonds, who we already know is an established player in that sort of a situation, in an offense that is trending upwards as everything's going to be taken away from the players on the outside, and give him a lot of space to operate underneath at an ADP 7 later at 114. Or give me Ramondre Stevenson on New England. I've been banging that drum all offseason. I think that Stevenson has the chance to become a lead back. And when I say lead back, like lead back, right? We're talking about a lead back in like New England, where that means like 40 to 45% of the touches. I know Damian Harris is there. I know that might be a bit of a hot take to you, but I think that Stevenson offers that New England offense a lot of opportunity at an ADP of 118, way cheaper than James Cook. With way more opportunity as well. So I hope that you like the list. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. Let me know who you're not drafting this year, or if you think that I'm absolutely nuts with any of these picks and you're like, no, I'm hammering that guy as many times as I can into as many lineups, as many drafts as I can get him. Thank you for watching. Look out for another video right there.
He's a legend.